Hi everyone, Kristina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be playing with a brand new stamp set from both Concord and Ninth and Hero Arts. Concord is helping Hero Arts celebrate 45 years of their business. Hero Arts has been around for nearly half a century, which is just amazing to me. I can't wait for 5 years from now to celebrate that achievement as well. So we're doing a blog hop, so you're going to see quite a bit of this today on social media. And today I'm going to be creating a card using some watercoloring and also some images from the stamp set. So the first thing I'm going to do is, well, first I'm going to show you my card sketch because I sketched out quite a few different ideas, and this is the one that I decided on. So basically I'm going to be taking this larger greeting right here. I'm going to have it be the focal area on my card, and I'm going to mask this area off while I stamp the turnabout stamp. So this is what the design of the turnabout stamp looks like when it's completely stamped 4 times. So I'm going to stamp all of this over the entire card front, and I'm going to have every single, all 4 stamps be in Versamark ink, so then I can heat emboss it. And then I'm going to draw some pencil lines, just mapping out this kind of very geometric pattern. And then I'm going to paint each section with watercolors. So that is the plan. Because I need things to happen in a specific order, I've kind of mapped it out. The first thing I need to do is stamp this greeting and also put down that mask over the top so that when I stamp the turnabout stamp, that none of these little images get into this area where the big greeting is. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to start by stamping that greeting. I'm going to be using my Misty stamp positioning tool quite a bit today, and I'm starting out with this Arches cold pressed watercolor paper. It's cut to 4.5 wide by 5 3/4 tall, so it's 1/4 of an inch larger in each direction, so that after I paint, I can cut off a little bit off the edges because I'll be taping it down. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to stamp this "You Amaze Me" right in that section. And I'm going to be heat embossing it. So I'm going to do just a little bit of this powder tool. This is an anti-static powder tool. It puts down just a little bit of powder, and that really dries out the surface of the paper and preps it for some heat embossing stamping. So I'm going to stamp this in Versamark ink. And I'm actually going to stamp this twice. Hold on, I'm going to get that right in the corner. There we go. I'm going to stamp this twice, because this watercolor paper is very textured, and I want to make sure that I have a really solid impression. So I did debate, do I want to put the masking paper down first and then do the stamping and the embossing? And I decided that would not be a smart move because when you put the masking paper down, it's a little bit sticky, and in my experience, it leaves a little bit of residue behind, and then the embossing powder sticks to that residue. Kind of have to do things in this order. All right, this is some alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. And I'm going to keep that embossing powder out because I'm going to use it when I do the pattern stamping. I like to hold my heat tool off to the side away from my project and let it heat up a little bit before I start embossing. This is the first time I've turned on my heat tool today, so this is a really important step. All right, that's completely embossed. Everything's melted. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my design on here around the greeting. So these are all the lines that I'm going to be using when I paint. All right, so now I'm going to take some masking paper. This is masking paper from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm just going to make marks where the masking paper needs to be cut. I'll use my paper trimmer to cut these down. All right, so now I can carefully place this masking paper over this rectangle. Make sure that covers it completely. And now I can go on to my stamping. All right, now I'm going to do all of the turnabout stamping. I'm going to get out my Misty stamp positioning tool once again, and I'm going to prep my turnabout jig. This is a little template that will help you get your stamping just perfectly. I'm going to put it in that corner. And what you do is you take this, it comes with the stamp set, it comes packaged in the stamp set. It's this little guide, and I'm going to line up the black X's over the X that's on the jig. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a little X kind of etched into it. I'm lining that up, and then I'm going to take the really large stamp, and it's hard to peel off sometimes. All right, I'm going to get this lined up just perfectly over all of the images. Okay, and I did that with the stamping side down so it matches up. All right, I'm going to do this and transfer it to the door of my Misty, and then I can peel this up. So now it's perfectly positioned for stamping on the jig. So here's my piece here. I'm going to temporarily adhere it to the turnabout jig, and there are registration marks that you can use if your paper is an A2 size, but mine's a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to get it kind of centered as much as I can. And I'm going to actually use a little bit of masking tape to tape it to the jig. Now normally you could use some removable adhesive. You don't want your paper edges covered up because you want it to go all the way off the edge. But I'm going to be taping this down when I paint it anyway, so I'm not that concerned if the stamping doesn't go all the way to the edge. I'm just going to go ahead and take this down. Also, my watercolor paper is a little bit warped after all that heat embossing, so it probably won't stick to the jig anyway. All right, I'm doing all that stamping, so I'm going to prep this with that same anti-static powder tool. Just want it all over. All right. Making sure my jig is in that bottom corner of my Misty, right down here. And then I can ink up my stamp. The one thing you want to take note of is that this number 1 up here is showing, so I know that this is the first stamping. I'm just going to stamp this down, really walking my fingertips over everything. And like I did with the greeting, I'm actually going to stamp this twice. It's going to pick up that jig, but that's okay. I can put it right back in that corner, and it'll be in the right spot. All right, stamping again. All right. So I've got it at 1, so now I'm going to turn it, and it is now at 2. And I'll stamp it again. And like I did before, I'm going to stamp it twice. I'm going to make sure that jig's in that bottom corner, ink up this turnabout stamp, and then stamp again. All right, so that's 2. So I'm going to turn it again to 3. 3's up there in that corner. Ink up my stamp. Double check my jig that's it in the right corner. And stamp down. So this is the 3rd stamping. You only have to do each turn. You do a total of 4. So I'm going to stamp this again for my 2nd stamping on number 3. And for the last one, I'm just going to turn it to 4. 4 is covered up a little bit by my tape up there, but not too bad. And I am using Versamark ink, which stays sticky for a long time. So I'm not too concerned about, having to stamp this 4 times and have the first round start drying. I don't think it will. All right, so here's the first of number 4. Now, the technique I'm doing today with this turnabout background stamp, it's actually one you could do with any background stamp, and probably a little bit faster because you don't have to turn it. Where turnabout stamps really shine, and I'm not showing it to you today, but where they really shine is when you use different colors for each of the 4 turns. I think it looks really, really cool when you do different colors. That just wasn't what my idea was going for today, so I'm just using it with Versamark. All right, I'm going to remove it from the jig really fast here, and then I'm going to put my white embossing powder all over this. And I kind of like that I still have the tape because it gives me something to hold on to. So you can see that background. Looks really, really cool. All right, now I can peel that up and you can sort of see the pattern on there. It'll be more apparent once I start painting. Taping my watercolor paper down to a board, and this is going to help it stay flat as it dries. So this is an opportunity when you've kind of warped your paper with heat embossing. When you start painting it, it will soften the fibers of the paper again, and when it dries, it'll flatten out. So this is a great opportunity to kind of flatten out anything that's gone wonky after the embossing. All right, I'm going to be using the Paper Fashion watercolor set from American Crafts. This is the watercolor set that I reviewed last week. I thought the colors were so pretty, and I'm going to be using just a few of the colors today. I'm using a number 4 Escada Prado brush. I'm going to start by painting the large square, and I'm going to get it wet first because I'm going to have it change color quite a bit as I paint it. So as I'm painting, I'm dropping in colors just like right along the edge, and then adding a bit more water to get them moving and mixing with the colors that are next to them. Okay, the rest of these sections are going to be really simple. I'm mostly going to be using just black and a little more water so it waters down to gray, and to paint each one of these sections. But I'm going to have each section be a little bit darker on one end and have it fade to the other end. So there will be some variation, but by having all black and white around the grading area, it's really going to draw the eye right to that center point with the grading, which is what I want the viewer to do. So design-wise, this is kind of a really cool idea to use like lack of color around the outside and then all the concentrated color right where you want the viewer to look. really want these letters to stand out, so I'm going to add a shadow with an N75 Tombow dual brush pen. And it's just going to add a little bit of shading to one side of the letters. This is going to help the letters stand out so that they don't get lost on this really busy background. Alright, all I need to do is trim this down to my card's current size. And now I'm using some Tombow Extreme Adhesive to adhere the watercolor paper to the card base. I like this adhesive because it's super strong, and if there's any warping with the watercolor paper, it's really going to hold it down to the card base. Alright, this really reminds me of kind of like a Lisa Frank type situation with kind of like the doodle sketch of the background stamp, of the turnabout stamp. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Gives you some fun ideas on how to do some different watercolor techniques on your own projects. You can get this stamp set over at heroarts.com for the next couple weeks, and then after that it will be at all the usual Hero Arts retailers. Thank you so much for Concord and Ninth for collaborating with Hero. I think it's such a great show of support within the industry. I think it's really fantastic. Hope you guys check out the stamp set. On screen right now, I've got 3 more videos for you to check out that feature different ways to use watercolor on your cards. We hope you'll click on any of those. And like I've said before in the past, go ahead and use my links to shop down below. That helps support my channel and helps me bring 3 videos to you every single week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on Friday for another video.